watering, feeding, mulching, tidying up. 4 things you do because you care about that bed. In August, everyone turns on you. 7. August mistakes quietly killing your perennials. None of them are your fault. Everyone is standard advice that's either out of date or was never true to begin with. But this is the month that decides what actually comes back for you in May. 2 of these. The reason you've been given is wrong, and I'll give you the real one. 1 is a watering rule every video repeats and no university says. 1 is a number you've been told is 7 years and it's 40. And number 4 you can fix tonight. 5 minutes, your hands, nothing to buy. Number 1 is a bottle you picked up back in July. It didn't just fail. It left you worse off than doing nothing. Let's start at 7. Number 7, the white bloom on your phlox and the trip to go and buy something for it. Powdery mildew. Minnesota lists 4 that get it regularly: phlox, bee balm, zinnia, and peony. Here's what nobody tells you at the counter. Fungicides are protectant. They keep clean leaves clean. They will not cure or remove an infection that is already there. That's Minnesota, and North Carolina State says the same. The white is already on the leaf. Nothing in that bottle takes it off. And before you start blaming yourself for the hose, this is the one disease you can't pin on wet leaves. Penn State. It does not need standing water on the leaf to germinate and infect. Warm days, cool nights, 60 to 80 degrees. Your watering had nothing to do with it. North Carolina State again. And this is the sentence I'd write on the shed door. Late season leaf diseases do little damage to plants that are about to drop their leaves anyway. So the honest answer for August is nothing. Missouri Botanical. No control is necessary. The plant recovers. The real fix is a name, not a bottle. And it happens next spring. Vermont scored 17 bee balms over 4 years. Violet Queen, Blue Stocking, and Marshall's Delight came in around 1 out of 5. Softway Pink came in at nearly 5, and Cambridge Scarlet close behind. The worst of them running 80 to 100% of the leaves covered every year. For phlox, it's David. 4 separate universities landed on the same one. Before number 6, if what you'd really like is to stop guessing which month to do what, a friend of mine and I put the whole year into one guide. It goes month by month through what we actually do out here, what we leave alone, what we've stopped buying, and how to keep a garden that gets easier as you get older instead of harder. It's called the Low Maintenance Garden Blueprint. It's at henrysgardensecrets.com, and the link is right below this video. Now, number 6. Number 6, feeding them. Every August, I get the same message, and it always says the same thing. The bed looks tired. What should I put on it? The answer is nothing. But I want to spend a minute on why, because the reason you've been given is wrong, and it matters that you know which part to keep. The reason everybody gives is winter. Feed them now, the story goes, and they push out soft growth that never hardens off, and the cold takes them. Clemson looked at that and used one word: unfounded. Their wording. Those claims are unfounded, particularly with conifers and most hardwoods. And there's a real study underneath it. 200 trees in Charlotte, 3 years, nitrogen into the ground in September and October, and no loss of hardiness worth the name. Now here's the thing that ends the argument for us. Every one of those warnings is about woody plants, trees, shrubs, evergreens. A perennial dies to the ground in November on purpose. There is nothing there to harden off. So why am I still telling you to leave the bag shut? 2 reasons, both of them real, both from Minnesota's extension. The first ties straight back to number 7. Nitrogen makes soft, young, green growth, and powdery mildew infects that growth easily. Their words, not mine. Feed the bed in August, and you are laying the table for the exact thing you are about to buy a bottle to fix. The second is drought. Don't fertilize a plant that's stressed by heat or dry ground. In very dry soil, the fertilizer isn't even reaching the roots. It just sits there. Iowa State adds a third. Too much of it gives you weak, spindly growth and fewer flowers. Their month for feeding perennials is late March into April. State's line is shorter. Most perennials don't need much fertilizer at all. One honest exception, because Maryland disagrees with me and you deserve to know. They say to feed the things that bloom late summer into fall. If your asters and hardy mums are in the ground and doing well, that's a defensible call. Everything else, leave it alone. Number 5 is the quietest of the 7. Nothing dramatic happens. The plant is just poor next spring, and you never connect the two. Putting the watering can away because the season feels finished. Wisconsin's line is the one to keep. An inch of water a week per plant is very important, even in the fall. Not a rule that expires in September. Clemson goes higher, 1 to 1.5 inches, more in real heat. Wisconsin again, watering everything, especially evergreens and anything newly planted, right up until the ground is frozen, is critical. Right up until the ground is frozen, not first frost. Illinois says, stop the extra watering once the ground freezes, and puts a number on the cold end that Colorado State gives too. Only water when the air is above 40 degrees. Colorado State is the only one naming perennials directly. Winter watering is worth doing for anything planted late and anything sitting in a windy or southwest-facing spot. Once or twice a month, October through March, in the stretches with no snow. Now, the correction. And this is the one that'll get me letters. Never water in the evening. You've heard it 100 times. It's half true. Mississippi State put the actual mechanism in writing. Most of those fungi need a film of water sitting on the leaf for at least 9 hours to germinate and get in. 9 hours. It was never the clock. It's how long the leaf stays wet. Their advice is to stop early enough that everything dries before dark. And the worst thing you can do is water right as the dew is drying in the morning. You extend the wet stretch at both ends. And Iowa State says the rest out loud. Mornings and evenings are both excellent times to water, if you're on a drip line or a soaker hose. The rule was never about the hour of the day. It was about wet leaves. One thing before I carry on. Tell me in the comments what you sprayed this summer, and roughly when, just month and what it was for. I'm asking for a reason. Number 1 on this list depends on it, and I want to know whether what I'm about to describe matches what's going on in your yard. I read every one of them. Number 4, the one from the title. Go and do this one, because it takes 5 minutes and costs nothing. Pushed up against the crown of the plant. The crown is where the stems meet the roots, right at soil level. It's the one part of a perennial that has to stay dry and has to breathe. And every spring, somebody with a wheelbarrow and the best intentions in the world buries it. Maryland's extension, word for word, do not pile wood mulch on top of the plant crowns, which encourages rot or root development into the mulch instead of into the soil. Both halves matter. Either the crown rots or the plant reroots upward into bark chips that dry out in a week. Illinois says it in fewer words. Keep mulch off the crown or you get crown rot. And Kansas State gives the only actual measurement I could find, 1 to 2 inches of bare ground around it. That's the job. Walk the bed and, with your hands, pull the mulch back off the base of every perennial until you can see soil. no spade, nothing to buy. While you're down there, check the depth, and here the universities fall out with each other. The lowest figure I found for perennials is 1 to 2 inches. The highest is 4. Nobody anywhere wants a pile, so 2 to 3 inches and never more than 4. Go deeper, and what you get is waterlogging, less oxygen, roots that stay shallow, and ground that runs too warm through winter. 2 more things while we're down here. Thick, damp mulch is slug housing. Maryland calls wood chips excellent slug habitat. That's the real slug answer, and it isn't a bottle either. And if you plant something this month, don't mulch it straight away. Illinois. Fall plantings don't need mulching right away and benefit from the sun warming the soil. Wait until the nights are near freezing. Iowa State warns that mulch put down too early can delay dormancy and raise the risk of cold damage. Winter mulch is a different job at a different depth, and it goes on after the ground is frozen, not now. Number 3. The corner decided to deal with next spring. I did this for years. By August, the beds are full. The heat has gone on too long, and the strip along the fence stops being a job and turns into scenery. You stop seeing it. Here's what's going on in there while you're not looking. 1 crabgrass plant, up to 150,000. That's Minnesota Extension Service publishes the same one. 1 redroot pigweed, 117,000, and 2 more agree right down to the 100. Purslane, 52,000, a single spotted spurge, over 1,000. And that seed only germinates once the ground is over 75 degrees, and only where light reaches it, which is exactly the bare patch you've been meaning to cover. Now the saying, 1 year seeding, 7 years weeding. You've heard it your whole life. It is far too kind. There's an old buried seed experiment North Carolina State still reports. 20 weed species, buried and checked for over 80 years. At 20 years, 11 were still alive. At 40 years, 40, 8 were still coming up. Purslane, pigweed, and ragweed among them. 3 were still viable at 80. Colorado State's numbers run the same way. Mullen, up to 100 years. 7 years is a comfort. It is not a fact. And one reversal, because it's the only good news here. Dandelion, the one plant everybody swears you'll never be rid of, does not have long-term viability in the soil. That's Colorado State's wording. The weed you fear most has the shortest memory of the lot. Now, what to actually do this week? And I'd rather be honest than sound useful. This is not the month to spray. Wisconsin explains why fall works. The plant is busy sending its food reserves down to the roots, and it carries the herbicide down with it. But Penn State puts that window at September into October and adds the condition nobody quotes. There has to be healthy green leaf to absorb it. If the weed is yellowing or browning off in the heat, it's already shutting down, and the spray does nothing. So August is scissors and a bag. Cut the seed heads off, bag them, don't shake them on the way out, and put September in the diary for the rest. Before 2 and 1, I want to take 3 jobs away from you. Not because they don't work, because the month for them has gone, and I'd rather say so than have you spend a Saturday on it. Pinching mums and asters. That window in July. Maryland says hold them at 6 to 8 inches until early July and stop. Penn State says stop in mid-July. Nebraska says around mid-July. 3 states, 1 deadline, and it is a month behind us. Pinch them now, and you take off the buds you've been waiting all summer for. The hard cutback, the one people call the Chelsea chop. Iowa State is the only extension service I found that uses the name, and their timing is late May or early June, taking everything back by a third to a half. Coneflower, sneezeweed, tall phlox, tall sedum, goldenrod. Doing it in August isn't a tip, it's a mistake. Staking. In nearly all cases, the best time to put the supports in is early in the season when the plant is a few inches tall, so it grows up through them and hides them. A grid dropped over a 3-foot phlox in August is a splint, not a support. But there's one exception, and it's worth having. Iowa State again. Stake single stems when the plant has almost reached its full height, but before the flower buds open. For a late bloomer, that is right now. So the lilies and the late delphinium, yes, tonight. The phlox that's already lying down, no. That one's waiting for spring. And one date I want to give you plainly, because I made a whole video about this plant a few days ago, and this belongs with it. Lavender. Maryland's extension. Do not prune after mid-August. Their very next line, do not cut it back hard. It can kill it. So if yours wants shaping, you have days, not weeks. If you're new, subscribe. I've kept a notebook for 35 years, and this channel is mostly what's in it. The jobs that turned out to be worth doing, and the ones that cost me a Saturday for nothing. Number 2, the table by the door with 50% off written on it. I'm not going to tell you to walk past it, but I'll be straight first because I went looking and came back with nothing. Not one extension service takes a position on clearance plants. Penn State, Iowa State, Illinois, Maryland. 4 buying guides. Not one mentions discounted stock either way. So anybody telling you the universities say don't buy into-season plants is making it up. And so is anybody telling you they say you should. What is written down is how to tell a bargain from a bag of trouble. 10 seconds. Iowa State. There shouldn't be a lot of roots coming out the bottom of the pot. That means it's been in there too long. And here's the tell almost nobody knows. Green algae on the surface of the soil or on the outside of the pot means old stock. That green film is the most honest label on the plant. And the simplest test there is, lift the plant out and look. White roots are healthy. Dark, mushy, or bad-smelling roots are not. The root ball should hold together without being a solid mat of circling roots. If it is root-bound and you want it anyway, Penn State gives you permission to be rough. A sharp knife, a saw, even a spade down the sides. I'm quoting them. The cut roots regenerate quickly and grow out into the soil, helping the plant establish. Cutting circling isn't damage. Leaving them is. One thing I would buy, though, the mums. New Hampshire's extension doesn't hedge. Do not expect them to survive the winter. The fall-blooming mums sold late in the season have not been bred for cold hardiness, and the few that come through, they say, seldom bloom again. If you want hardy garden mums, put them in the ground in spring. The ones on that table are a bunch of flowers in a pot. Nothing wrong with that, just don't dig a hole. And on timing, this is a good month to plant. Iowa State's window runs mid-August into early October, and 3 separate extension services give the same rule. 4 to 6 weeks in the ground before it freezes. Water daily the first few days, then a proper soak every week to 10 days in dry weather until the ground freezes. Number 1. The Saturday in July. The beetles were on the rows, so you sprayed. Sensible. The label said so. Missouri's extension says what happens next, plainly. Spraying for early season pests like Japanese beetles can make spider mite damage worse later in the season. The mites' predators are more fragile than the mites are, and it's worse than that. California's pest program put it in the lab. Mites exposed to carbaryl, the old 7-ingredient, bred faster than mites nobody sprayed at all. It raises the nitrogen in the leaf and feeds them. The spray was pointless anyway. Minnesota. Most beetle feeding finished by mid to late August. Speckling, bronzing, fine webbing underneath, and damage climbing from the bottom of the plant upward. Daylilies and Solomon seal are named on North Carolina State's list of what they hit. The fix costs nothing. A hard jet of water, undersides, every few days. 7. And notice how many of them were you doing what you were told. One thing to do tonight. Number 4. 5 minutes. Your hands, the crown of every plant in that bed. One thing for the diary. September, for the weeds. One for next spring. Put the fungicide down and write down the name David. Tell me what you sprayed in July. I'll be reading.